Hey everyone, Egman here with another video. Today we're going to talk about pretty much Towa. Um, Long story short, I wanted to cover. I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover like the Pasadena and the other Otacon events, and the mix between them being like the last ones for set six, and then also the fact that I wasn't really able to find all the information I needed to do a really good coverage for that. And three, I don't really think people really wanted to do that. I could be wrong. But so instead, I got Russell Steltzers and also Ryan Wilson. Kyle Wilson. Kyle Wilson. Both their Toa decks. They both sent them to me, and I was like, you know what? Let's just talk about Toa and my thoughts about her going into set seven. Just because one, when this card was first released, a lot of people thought it wasn't very good, and I don't blame them. The idea that your leader has such a valueless backside and all that, I can see where people can say, oh, it's not good enough, it kind of kills itself and all that. But I don't think that's really true or what's happening in any regard. And just the fact that this leader is so powerful in the sense of it enables a lot of powerful battle cards, I think it's okay to make the leader lackluster like this. So I think it's worked out really well, and I really do like these archetype strong leaders where it really you can be kind of negative in what you actually do, but you enable a lot of crazy stuff to happen. So let's kind of talk about like the key cards that both decks use, kind of what tech that each one ran, and then pretty much some stuff that's coming out in set 7 that I think will maybe help out this deck a little bit. So pretty much the main idea for this deck is to get out your big bad boy 7-drop mirror, create absorbs. This card's pretty nuts in so many ways, and even before it was reliable to get it out with Toa and by union absorbing it, just the fact that it's just a big old beat stick. But now that you're able to consistently get it out with either the Dark Absorbs and Mira, so you can overwhelm this for 3 and then use Union Absorb for 4 to place Toa from your Warp under this card. And if your leader card is an Android or Toa, choose 1 Mira with the cost of 700 in your hand or Warp and play it on top of this card. So it's so crazy to me that they preface that this Mira leader, this Toa leader was going to happen like a year in advance. Like that's so crazy to me that it took them that long to make a Toa leader. But so yeah, you can either do that with Union Absorb, but there's also this newer card, this Mirror Reformation. Choose 1 Toa card in your Warp, place it under the card. If your lead card is Toa or Android, choose up to 1 Mirror with card in your deck with energy cost of 7, play an active mode on top of this card and shuffle your deck. It has Deflect, and it costs 1 less if you have 10 or more cards, or 10 or more black cards in your Warp. So that's pretty good. Essentially, both these are turn 4 ways to do it. This one I think is a little bit more powerful because you're able to have like a double strike. You're not using your overwhelm for the turn, and additionally, the fact that Union Absorb means it comes about in active mode means that you can swing at this with the double strike and then get out your big boys. So a lot of play there. This one's alright, and of course you can still swing with this one first and then it goes on active mode. You have to be careful of stuff like Mafuba kind of ruining your day in that kind of sense, but I think it's still really good. The fact that this one also has Deflect helps you out a lot too, so that helps out. It can still get Mutaidoed if you play it on turn 4, because it's technically a 5-drop when you play it, so, or when it's on the field. So there's that, but just a lot of value there. And then when you play Mirror too, so when you play this, using Union, your opponent chooses 3 cards in their hand, sends them to their Warp, and this card gains double strike for duration of the turn. So you've got a 30k double strike that warps 3 cards, and then also your Toa leader can give it critical by just putting 3 black cards from your Warp to your drop area. So helps out that deck a lot too. The fact that you have 2 double strike attacks coming in, and one of them is crit and all that, and just the fact that there's just a lot of value games going on as well, I think makes the deck really good. So there's a rant on that in the main combo. So how do we get there? What are some key combo cards with this? So first you have to be running a bunch of Toas, and so I guess the last thing to say is that this one has to find a mirror from your deck, which can actually be kind of tricky sometimes, and then this one from your hand or Warp, which is a little bit easier, especially Warp. Warp's pretty easy, but there's probably times that that's just stuck in your hand, especially since Toa On the front side, switches the top 5 front of your deck for a Mira or Towa, or sorry, Mira or Fu card, so you can just add one and then you're set for the for the game. So there is that. But yeah, some key cards. One, Vegeta Time Regulator. Obviously, this card's nuts. When you play this card using Overwhelm, choose up to 2 black cards with any cost of 7 or less in your warp. Place them at the bottom of your deck in any order, and if you place a battle card at the bottom of your deck, draw 1. So being able to refuel your deck like that, especially since there's so much bursting going on. Additionally, if you really need a mirror in your deck, you can Overwhelm something, put mirror at the bottom of your deck, which also means that you're not going to draw it anytime soon unless you shuffle. So yeah, just a quick, easy, like do this, and then do a quick, easy Overwhelm, like revive Ravager Vegeta or like another mirror. That way, the time regulator goes off, and then you just go from there. So, really cool stuff there. Next, I'd say like the Towas are cards that you need. Just the fact that you need to have Towas in your deck for the Uni Absorb to go off. We've got this Time Ruler Towa. This card's like really old. It's almost a year and a half old, and it really hasn't seen that much play before this, even though its effect is pretty good a lot of the time. And it's usually just seen like as tech stuff, but when you Overwhelm, choose up to 1 in battle card with any cost 2 or less and gain control of it from your opponent's area, which can be a really good value swing, especially in instances where there are games where your opponent just has like a bunch of 1-drops. Like Skillless is a good idea for that. It can also like steal a 1-drop Broly, and then your opponent can't do anything with it. So they can't do their combos, so that feels pretty good. Same kind of thing with Umbral, Invitation, Towa, being able to do that. So, and you can even on your Awakened side, if they have something with Bear you want to steal, you can use its ability, its active battle for 1 energy to remove Barrier from a card and just steal it with one of your Towas. So that's good there. I think that's going to continue being good going forward in set 7. Just that kind of unique stealing ability. And then pretty much from there, it's kind of like the tech options you want. You want to run some food because your leader looks for it. So 4-dimensional Banishers was run by Russell. For Kyle, we've got let's see, 4-dimensional Banishers as well, and I think that's it for him. He doesn't run any of the other foo. Russell also ran the Scientist foo and the where is he? Foo the Dark Banisher. I think running one of him is fine, just because he's such a good win condition sometimes. Just crazy amount of value there. And then also pretty much you're able to run all the 1-drops that give you kind of like a like the tech options. So you've got a Supreme kind of Time Disruptor, counterplay, and play this card in battle cards, and it costs 2 or less, cannot attack until the start of your opponent's next turn, and you also get a draw card. So that's really helpful. Just the fact it's a counterplay you can play in your opponent's turn if you're kind of waiting for some energy to free up, but it can also be kind of anti-aggro with a deck trying to swarm up with a bunch of 1 and 2 drops. So that's a good card there. And then also Kami. I think Kami is going to be really important, especially with like Universe 6 veggies and all that kind of stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of decks that just really swarm the field. So being able to play this helps out a whole ton. I think going into set 7, and then also some Crisis Crusher. I think this is really only good right now for kind of skillless still, but that's still a good enough reason to run this card. I'm not sure, like with Universe 6, the 1-drops can't be KO'd by skill, so you can't really use them in that, but there's probably some other cards that I'm not really thinking about right now. What else? Toki Time Creator I think is a neat card, just being able to help find the cards you need at the time. Right now you can only find Kami and also Dende. I think Dende can help out the deck a lot, especially if like Gogeta Ramp's a good idea for that, but I believe there's some other decks that might come out that kind of focus on ramping, so that helps a lot. And also No Escape Son Goku. There's not like a whole bunch of stuff right now in the next set off the top of my head that really returns cards to hand. I know like the UI engine is kind of tempting to do that, but I don't think there's a bunch in next set. I could be wrong. Let me know. But it's still, just being able to, it's like just to draw one is fantastic, especially in this deck where you're going to be floating a lot of energy, since a lot of your big plays are overwhelming, and then being able to just kind of fill in the gaps with that. So I think that's everything I want to talk about these decks pretty much. But I do kind of want to talk about the side decks, especially Russell's. So In the side, he's got 3 Son Goku The Adventure Begins and 3 4-star balls. I think this is, if you know my my skillless build, I think skillless is actually a really good build for this deck. Just the fact that Son Goku The Adventure Begins does so much for you. Since you're overwhelming a lot of stuff in this deck, being able to kind of have something to do to fill out your energy. So being able to play like Son Goku The Adventure Begins for 1 energy and then find a 4-star ball. And then also for like 2 energy, you can find like a 20k or 30k skillless. Right now there's no black 30k skillless, but I don't think there's too much issue just running 3 or 4 of a off-color card in this deck. I think you can still survive for it, but I think there's a lot of good happening there, and I think it's a good build. So moving forward, I can expect to see more of the skillless build, but just the fact that you're able to steal the 1 drop from your opponent, and then you can just get free value with 4-star balls and that kind of stuff, I think helps out this deck a whole bunch. So there's that, and then also nothing too fancy here. What is this, the Deadly Defender? Yeah, Deadly Defender, that's good. Just the fact that all the like anti-meta cards are black helps out this deck a whole bunch. You'd think that being only restricted to 1 color as heavily as this card deck is can hurt you, but the color that it's restricted to is pretty lenient in that way, so I think it'll help it a lot. So let's talk about some cards I think are going to be important from set 7 that are coming out. We're going to go right to black. So there's not a whole bunch of cards that are coming out that are kind of overwhelm centric, but there are more than I thought, I'll say. So we'll kind of talk about it. So first, we're to talk about Toki Toki City. So when you play a card using Overwhelm, place the top card under your deck. Choose 3 cards under this card and send them to your warp. If your leader card is black, battle cards you play using Overwhelm are sent to the warps at the end of their turn. So I'm not sure how I feel about this deck. I don't think like modern versions of Towa would be especially good with that. It'd have to be a card that's does more than one thing when you Overwhelm it. So I think the best card I can think of is Fu the Dark Banisher, just because it has a permanent. Your opponent can't activate skills unless they choose 1 card in their hand and send it to their warp. So being able to have this effect carry over to your opponent's turn, and it's also not restricted to battle cards or extra cards. So like just swinging with your leader, and if they activate effect to draw a card, they have to warp a card there too. So that can help out a lot. It is kind of being able to have 4 energy to play this consistently. I think is can be a little bit tough, but I think it's a cool effect. And let me see off the top of my head. Most Overwhelm cards literally just Overwhelm for 1 turn, and they do something when you play them, and don't have like a permanent effect like this. Let me see. We're gonna do it live. Oh, is it 2 words? There we go. Yeah, I mean, Desperate Onslaught, Bardock can help just because you can swing twice with this guy. I think it can help. It's not like it's critical the turn you play it. This guy's already a Dark Overwhelm, so it stays no matter what. I mean, I guess there's like the Overwhelm Demigra that. I mean, I guess you get to keep. This is Dark Overwhelm, so you keep it no matter what, anyways. This is only when it attacks the turn you play it with Overwhelm. This is only when you play this card. I mean, I guess you keep this for duration of the turn, or like you just keep this effect there. So it really is just having it for a big body and pretty much the Dark Banisher Fu. But I think it's an alright card. Well, I'll be interested to see how it goes moving forward. Next up, we've got Towa Dimension Leaper. I think this card's going to be kind of good for the deck. We don't really have Black didn't really have like a counterplay cards like any of the other multicolor cards, but I think this one's good. It's you still have to pay for the record. You have to pay the 2 energy on top of choosing 2 cards in your drop and sending them to your warp to play this card. If you look at any other counterplay things, like if you look at like the 1-drop Roshi Negate, you still have to pay the 1-drop, the 1 energy to play him. So it's not what a lot of people say or think it is, but being able to play a block revenge on play can really help you out. It depends on the deck and everything, but I think Like this Towa itself is a really good counter to triple flash. If they kind of tap out thinking, oh, I can go in without any worry. Boom, you can play this, and it's really the only counter play that Towa has access to. So I think this is at least deserves a spot or two in your side deck. It's also a Towa, so that can help you out a bunch with doing your plays in that way. So I think this is going to be a good card, and I think at least some experimentation, especially since Towa really doesn't care about leaving 2 energy open, just because a lot of their plays, like spend 1 or 2 energy, or just play, Overwhelm and then just be good with it. So I think this is a good card for that. What else? Trunks Time Regulator. This is just like a budget version of the Bardock that came out of the anniversary box. So I'd play that instead of this, but there you go. It's a Saiyan Earthling, so maybe that Earthling will help you out a bit. Supreme Kai of Time Regulator. Blocker when you play us, draw 1. I think we have like the 1-drop Gravy. I think that one's a little bit better. Or no, Poutine. I think it's like the same thing, 1-drop blocker. I think that's better than this, but the fact that it has no combo power, it's kind of like, so they do that to balance it out for the fact of being able to be splashed and everything, especially with this 2-drop Super Saiyan Trunks. We'll talk about him. So being able to play him for the idea of, just what is it? He's able to be put in any deck. So in most of the 2-drop 20k energy cards, they have 2 specific energy for the energy they have. So the fact that this is vanilla in a lot of ways, I think justifies the no energy cost. Because I think this could be abused in like Pan, being able to just play this and still have multicolor cards, but still have like a 25k attacker come out on turn 2. It's pretty nuts. So I think that justifies it. Kind of sucks, but I think it's fair. But I also think this can help out the idea of like the skillless Goku I was talking about earlier. I think we'll see some more builds of that. Being able to just get this Kai out for free helps out your game plan a lot, and all that. Being able to fill out your energy more. So I think that's a good card there. What else? An unexpected turn. So this card is kind of confusing in its wording, but if your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy cost 2 or more, the battle cards your opponent is playing is placed in its owner's drop area instead, and choose all battle cards energy cost 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to their owner's warp. So this is kind of like a reactive Kami in a lot of ways. So I think this will help out the deck a lot, being able to have this option for a counterplay. It's somewhat easy to play around because it has a really specific condition, but I think being able to just, since this card exists in general, I think your opponent's going to be afraid it's something that's going to happen. So this is I think this is a good card, and it will at least see some experimentation, if not some main deck playage. So what else? We've got the Sun Goku. I don't think this card's good in the deck. You don't really want to hit yourself like that. Vegeta making an entrance. When I first saw this card, I thought so it's a counter. Choose 3 battle cards, any cost 3 or more, place in power of 35k power or less, and your drop area, place them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Play this card, and then this card can only be played by using counter skills, and only one of them can be in play in your battle area. So when I first read this, I thought, oh, you're able to counter the card being played, and no, you just play this card at counter speed, if that makes sense. So it doesn't stop any cards from being played. It's literally saying, oh, for 1 energy, you can be a 15k body that comes out and also put cards back in your deck, which can maybe be good against Janemba and that kind of stuff. So I think this card's okay. It's not as good as people originally thought, just because a lot of people, including myself, thought it actually was like a battering replacement, but it's not. So, which I think is good. I think it's fine, but I think this card just might see some play, but not super good in this deck. And this card, I'm not happy with. I don't know why this card's made. I don't think if this was a 5k, it would. I think it would have been fine, because so to negate the attack and play this card counter. This is like strictly worse than Power Burst. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you get a 5k body out on the field, but that doesn't really do anything in any regard. I don't think, like, it's super niche. I'd rather get a card back to my hand to combo with when I do my counterattacks, instead of just having a useless body on the field that can't be comboed. So I think this card's dumb, but I kind of get why it has no combo cost. I think it's dumb. So And I think that's pretty much it from set 7. Oh, there's also this the Migra. When you play this card, you may choose one card in your life, add to your hand. If you do, your opponent chooses cards in their hand and places them in the drop area until they have 12 cards in their hand. So, man, in case that 13 card hand seems a little bit too intimidating. Bam, you got this. So I don't think Self Awaken really belongs in Towa in a lot of reasons. Nothing depends on your life total being low. Being able to be defensive and kind of gain value without having to take cards from your life is kind of something that's more unique to Towa. Kind of Shenron leaders as well, but I think Towa really epitomizes it and all that. So I think that's going to be it for me. Thanks for letting me ramble about Towa. I really do like this deck, and I think it's a strong contender for one of the better decks going into set 7, especially since it's not really affected by counterplay stuff. Yes, counterplay does affect this deck a little bit, but it's not as bad as other decks, especially since sometimes if you Mirror is good for, since it has Deflect, it sure gets hit by the 3-drop counter attacks or counterplays. Since they blow up on auto speed, but I don't think that's a big issue. And then also you can do the same thing with Mirror, like these 3-drop mirrors. I think these ones are going to be a little bit more popular just because, ironically, they don't get hit by counterplays as much as the card with Deflect, because you're able to play this for free and then kind of sink your energy, in later. So if you play this for free and then they use like a counterplay against it, cool, you lost 0 energy and they lost 2. So and that just feels really bad as your opponent, right? Having to use 2 energy to get rid of something that costs your opponent 0 energy. So I think that's going to be it for me. Look out for this deck still. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Shoutouts to Russell and Kyle once again for giving me their decks and getting a great 4th place and 2nd place ending or placement in general. And that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.